Habitat and Clean Air Partnership for having me today. I want to start off by telling you why we're so focused on redesigning our streets to make the city even safer. Because New York City is already the safest large city in the United States. DOT has a safety goal of reducing fatalities by 50% by the year 2030, and this goal was set out in 2007. As you can see from this chart in the dramatic decline, between 1990 and 2010, we had a decline in traffic fatalities of 59%. So as a response to this goal to reduce fatalities even further, in 2008, the DOT commissioned a study to conduct a thorough investigation of killed or severely injured, in my presentation we say KSI crashes, the past 5 years, and it was the most comprehensive pedestrian study undertaken by any major city in the U.S. And it focused on vulnerable road users, which we identify as pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorcyclists. So you can see that vulnerable road users are 71% of fatalities. Pedestrians were 52% of these fatalities, and seniors represented 38% of all fatalities. So when we're looking at this data, and we saw in 2008 that seniors represented 12% of the population, but accounted for 38% of the fatalities, we realized that this is the group that we need to target if we want to bring down our numbers. And especially because the number of seniors in New York City is rising, and it's rising quickly. Over the next 25 years, our population of adults over the age of 65 is supposed to increase by nearly 50%. So this means that we need to think about how we design our streets and how to best accommodate an aging population. We want to encourage them to walk and be more active than ever, and we're aiming to design our streets so that they can do this. So in 2008, we came up with our Safe Streets for Seniors program. This is where we designated 25 senior pedestrian focus areas based on a density of crashes. Some of the improvements that we implement, this is just some of them, we implement a lot of improvements in these areas, but we aim to shorten crossing distances, slow down traffic, provide a refuge space if it's a long crossing distance, or extending the crossing time. This is something that came up before, but in our senior areas, we retime our signals to a 3 feet per second walking speed instead of the standard 4 feet per second to accommodate the slower walkers. Since we implemented this program in 2008, our senior fatality number in 2010 was 29%, down from 38% a couple years earlier. So what we do with this program is that we conduct safety audits, and we do these on corridors or at intersections within these areas. And we examine them not only from the perspective of a pedestrian, any treatment that we do to improve walking for seniors really improves it for all pedestrians. But we consider all road users when we're doing these designs. So for seniors, safety risks are a major reason that they decide not to walk. AARP found that 50% of adults over the age of 50 reported that they could not cross roads near their home safely. So half of these adults said that if these problems weren't improved, they would be more likely to walk. So this is our goal, is to promote walking in the city of New York for seniors and all pedestrians. So this slide just shows our complete streets design philosophy. We have the bicycle path, the sidewalk, the buffered island, we have floating parking lanes, and travel lanes. So a background of our complete streets and where we're going in New York. Since 2006, we've installed 8 acres of public plaza space. We've installed 250 miles of bike routes since 2006, and we've calmed over 100 miles of roadway since 2008, and I realize I should have converted these to kilometers. But if you see the slide, I'm going to transition into this is a new plaza space that we have. And these are the 3 areas I'm going to talk about today: plaza space, bike routes, and calming traffic. So first, increasing public space. Research shows, and what we just heard, is that if you have pedestrian-friendly streets, you're going to encourage walking. And as we saw, the population is getting less healthy and larger. So this is something that we're trying to combat. We're looking at major two-way streets because our study found that they account for 47% of pedestrian fatalities, but they only make up 12% of the roadway network. So to start out with our public space, I'm going to show you a video because it's a great video and I hope it doesn't make me run over my time, but it really highlights what we're doing in New York for public space.
Over the past century, Times and Herald Squares, the most crowded streets in America's most crowded city, had become a chaotic jumble of pedestrians, cyclists, cars, trucks, and buses. The diagonal path of Broadway cut into the Manhattan street grid and slowed travel times and created delays for motorists and pedestrians alike. Mayor Bloomberg asked the New York City Department of Transportation to find new ways to improve pedestrian safety and traffic flow. In response, the agency created a green light for Midtown. The department started with temporary materials to close Broadway to motor vehicles through Times and Herald Squares. Though 6th and 7th Avenues now carry more traffic, travel times are improving. GPS data from taxis show that northbound trips throughout West Midtown improved 17% from fall 2008 to fall 2009, more than twice the improvement of East Midtown. And despite closing parts of Broadway, southbound travel continues to move as fast as before. Travel times for 6th Avenue buses are 13% faster. 7th Avenue buses are largely unchanged, in part because some buses now wiggle from Broadway over to 7th Avenue. But bus riders now have more frequent service on 7th Avenue. Green light for Midtown is also dramatically improving public safety. In just the brief life of the project, injuries to motorists and passengers in the area fell by 63%, while injuries to pedestrians dropped 35%. It's now easier to cross an intersection. Instead of having to cross the traffic of both Broadway and an avenue, people only need to cross the avenue. Less time in intersections means less risk, and there is more room for people to move in these bustling neighborhoods. Instead of crowded sidewalks pushing pedestrians into the streets, new plazas keep people out of the roadway and out of harm's way. And in Times Square, an amazing 80% fewer people are walking in the roadway. It's a much safer experience for everyone. Other safety improvements include new markings to clearly guide cars, bikes, and pedestrians. New or retimed traffic and crosswalk signals to give pedestrians more time to cross the street and reduce jaywalking. New refuge islands at intersections offer a safe place to stand between walk and don't walk. The scope of the project is undeniably big, but its creation was simple, efficient, and cost-effective. The result is a transformation of Broadway itself. Blocks once clogged with traffic now feature pedestrian plazas, developed and maintained in partnership with the Times Square Alliance, the 34th Street Partnership, and the Central Park Conservancy.